everyone. I'm Katie Rich. This is the Prestige Junkie Podcast, and this week, the moment is here. It is time to make our final Oscar predictions. So joining me, of course, once again, is my colleague, Chris Rosen. Chris, Oscar fever. Everyone is having it now. We've had it for weeks. How you doing?
I'm so psyched, Katie. I've been waking up every morning like, oh, I can't wait to do this. Our final picks. I've been like in the lab working it out. I'm so psyched. So yeah. I'm ready.
We are ready to go. Chris and I are going to make our final Oscar predictions in all 24 categories. We're very excited. There's going to be some arguing. I might change my mind several times over the course of this. I might change my mind between now and Sunday. We'll see. And also, if you're enjoying listening to us now, please come back and join us on Oscar night. Chris and I will be watching the Oscars live on Substack and YouTube, available to absolutely everybody. Go to the Anklers YouTube, go to theankler.com to find the links starting around 7 p.m. Eastern when the awards start. We're really excited to do all of this with you. And then after Chris and I talk, you'll hear my conversation with two people who know way more about the Oscars than they will ever tell us, but have plenty to share. I talked to Bill Kramer, the CEO of the Academy, and Lynette Howell Taylor, who became the president this past July. What a fun conversation. They clearly love the Oscars as much as I do and had a couple hints about what's coming Sunday. They're pretty tight-lipped, but it was a really great conversation. Hear that all soon. Welcome to the show. Okay, Chris, the time is here. As you're listening to this, you can see my Monday newsletter where I have the first half of the predictions we're about to make. So I guess some of you may be spoiled, but this is where the hashing out can happen. The second half will come in Thursday's newsletter. And Chris, the way that I set it up is that I could make my predictions and then you could swoop in and be like, well, actually, here is all those
It's great. I love Bill actually. It's so good. It's as a man, it's so it's like a real man thing to do.
It's what you were born to do. Yes. But it's a funny time of year to crunch the numbers, right? Because there's all these precursors, there's all this evidence, and then there's also things like the Sinner's vibe shift that we've been talking about and the overlaps between the voting bodies. I mean, just overall, how much do you think the data is helping you make these predictions about what's actually going to happen at the Oscars?
A little bit, I think, but not this year. Just feels like we don't know. There is a vibe around Sinners, right, that we have obviously clocked. And then like when you're going into these, it's like all this data could tell you one thing, but we don't know. Like in the end, like, and it's like, we'll know when we know. Some of these more than others, I think. But like overall, I can't remember the last time we had two movies so obviously out in front and so strong with each other. In any other year, we would be like Sinners is sweeping or One Battle is sweeping. They're that strong. And then now they're together and they're together in so many categories. It's crazy. We're so like, I feel like we're really lucky to have these movies this year because like it's such a really great race and it's been really fun to like think about. So we'll see.
Even thinking about like the Parasite 1917 comparison, because I do think 1917 was stronger than we in retrospect give it credit for. Neither of them had any acting nominations. So it was like completely out of the running in all these other spots. So it really is this very unusual twin phenomenon here that I think we're lucky to have. We'll see if the awards shake out in a way that we feel lucky about it.
I agree.
Yeah. So we'll start with the shorts, which we went long on last week, so we don't need to linger on it too long. I started in the newsletter write-up with animated short, and you and I were both on the same page, as I think we said last week about retirement plan. But then, as you pointed out, why are the betting markets in favor of Butterfly? What do the betting markets know about any of this that we don't?
A great question. What do the betting markets know, period? I have no idea. I still have no idea.
Always wonder.
But the prediction markets are on Butterfly, which I guess on paper, it feels like an old school, like, remember the old, like the cliche that Oscars love
the Holocaust.
Love the Holocaust. Yeah. And like, if it's a movie about like the Holocaust, it's going to do well. That's like such an old cliche. And the Butterfly is about a Holocaust survivor, Albert Nachke, a swimmer, Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
So sure, I guess that makes sense. And it is beautiful animation. But I having watched these, I just think retirement plan is stronger. And we talked about this last week. I think when there's like a famous person out in front of the movie, that helps because I think it's like a popularity contest. Is
Donald Gleason famous enough to swing votes here?
I don't know. Maybe he's definitely. There's
currently star of the paper,
and there's not as many like bold-faced names on the Butterfly as compared. So I don't know. We'll see. Butterfly could win. Sure. I'm going to stick with retirement plan just because I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Sometimes it feels good to predict the thing that you like the best, especially when like you truly don't know with these shorts.
Sure.
Forgive like a real sidebar, but I haven't actually asked you about it. Where are you and Donald Gleason's dancing in the Opalite music video? I assume you've watched it.
I've like obsessed with it, Katie. I mean, it is like the greatest. Watching it, I was like, how do we get Donald Gleason to like host the Oscars again? Just everybody should host the Oscars.
Everybody should host, yeah. He'd be a good Oscar host.
When I watch choreography and videos, and he's such a great dancer in the thing, and he's so I was like, they really should add choreography to like the Oscars or the Emmys. I know they have it. I think they have it in the Emmys. Obviously,
I guess they must have a Grammy for like choreography and music
so
video.
Good. I just love it. So yes, I'm very pro Donald Gleason.
Let's get Donald Gleason in a musical immediately. Okay, best documentary short. Again, we talked about it a while. I know we're both really fond of The Devil is Busy. Do you think we're being cynical by predicting that All the Empty Rooms, which has the CBS connection and Steve Hartman and a lot of like celebrities going for it, are we being too cynical to just assume that's enough for it to win?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I also think it's like really powerful. You know what I mean? Like, it's like none of these are like none of these feel cheap to me in a way that like you would think like, oh, like the most obvious one is gonna, you know what I mean? Like the most obvious emotion. Like they're all like, I think really thoughtful and well done. I again, though, I could see The Devil is Busy when you don't know, but I mean, All the Empty Rooms kind of checks all the boxes. It feels like, so that's what I have that one too, obviously, and we'll see. But if Devil is Busy won, that'd be so cool. And then, like you said in the newsletter, it would be a double Oscar, maybe a double Oscar win.
Would win for We'll get to documentary feature in a minute. I'll try to button up our sections with just saying out loud. We are both predicting that All the Empty Rooms will win documentary short, as we said last week as well. Okay, final short. We'll try to go quick on these again. As I wrote about it, it really is kind of a two-horse race between two people exchanging saliva. And I think we both agree that that's going to be the one that triumphs over The Singers, which feels like the other strongest one.
I think so. And again, like I just feel it's the most it's challenging, but not like obtuse, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And it's like you could tell two people exchange saliva. Not that all these movies aren't really good. Another category where I think they're all pretty strong and like, you know, probably will have fans. But it just felt like the filmmaking and two people exchanging saliva was like and the storytelling and the world building was just at another level. Yeah. And so that's why I'm predicting it. But who knows? Again, like we'll see what happens. Maybe what if Jane Austen's period drama wins, where I know you really like that one. It was funny, right? And it's like,
funny. Maybe silly.
Maybe it's silly, but maybe people like silly. You never know.
That one got sent to me like as a viral video by someone who has nothing to do with the movie business. So it made me wonder if it's accessible in a way that is more useful. But again, as you wrote in the newsletter, like who knows how many people watch all of these and will click the button that says they actually watch them. It's such a mystery. So it's so hard to get your footing here.
That is going to be really interesting. And we'll never know. Again, another thing we'll never know. But like this year in the ballots, you could not, unless you clicked that you had watched, you cannot vote in the category. It didn't open the category up to you to vote, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So
I think that shaming would work on me. What do you think?
I think so too, but you never know.
Okay, so we're both predicting two people exchanging saliva. Moving on to the feature film categories. We're starting with visual effects, which is a fun one because we're in complete agreement, and I don't think there's another argument to make. Avatar, Fire and Ash, please come collect your third Oscar for the franchise.
Fantastic. You love Avatar more than me, but you know, how could you not give Avatar another Oscar? As long as they make Avatar movies, it will win visual effects Oscars. So that's it.
Is there anything in here that you think in a better world would get more consideration? I know The Lost Bus was very impressive during the bake-offs, and I think you've seen it and said the fire effects are really good. Anything else that without an Avatar movie would be a deserving winner?
I mean, I guess I would say The Lost Bus. The other ones are all cool. Like Sinners would be cool, obviously, but I feel like Sinners is not. The FX, I think, are subtle enough where you're like, what are the FX, right? Like, because it's like...
Which is a huge accomplishment in itself.
Yeah. And I still am like, you know what's still great? Dinosaurs. They do a great job making cartoon dinosaurs, so I'm in on Jurassic World.
Did you see Jurassic World Rebirth properly?
Oh, sure.
Okay, you went to see it?
In the theater.
Okay. Yeah. I've been saying kind of snarkily, and this is not kind to the people who worked on it, but I've watched other people watching it on planes enough times, so they're like, I kind of get it.
I will say this, it's great. It's the most pastiche of Jurassic Park of any of these. They really just were like, the Rebirth was taken quite literally.
Oh, so it's like The Force Awakens, but Jurassic Park?
Yes, a little bit. And like the beats are very similar. And it's not great, but it is honestly entertaining. I thought it was like pretty entertaining. And even though it's like not good. So like, there you go.
Pretty entertaining, but not good.
Great plane movie.
You know, this makes me excited for summer blockbuster season. Bring me back to pretty entertaining, but not good. Okay, so we're both in agreement. It's going to be Avatar, Fire and Ash. It's barely even a could win in this scenario. I think that's an easy one. Best sound, on the other hand, you and I are disagreeing, partly, I think, because I am disregarding the data and saying that a Sinners sweep, the vibe shift that we've been talking about, could potentially bring it up to the fore in this category that is very big on effects movies, but also, as I wrote, musicals, which are, a huge element of sound mixing. Whereas you, on the other hand, think that all the precursors have gone for F1, which makes it pretty strong here. I can't argue with that, but what do you want to say to convince me?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I think this is a really challenging category. So we had Cinema Audio Society was over the weekend, which is sound mixing, and F1 won that one. But then on Sunday, there was the Golden Reel Awards, which is for sound editing, and they have it broken down into a bunch of categories. And Sinners won for ADR dialogue, and that's expected probably. And then F1 was against other movies in Foley effects and sound effects. And it lost to Frankenstein, which is also a nominee here. So basically what that means to me is, sure, I don't know. F1 has won. F1 won at BAFTA. It won Cinema Auto Society. And
it is a very clear,
that
is a movie that you've seen in a theater, and it sounds incredible. It is very easy for anyone in any branch of the Academy to understand how that's a sound accomplishment.
100%. And that said, I think you're right that Sinners could win here, especially because you add the music in, which I think is an underrated aspect, you suggested. I think Frankenstein maybe could be, if there's a big Frankenstein craft sweep, and we'll obviously get to those in a minute, but maybe it could also win. I do think they're all three very competitive. I'll stick with F1, but it's certainly not it's obviously winning. I think there is room for argument here. The other thing is it could just do people care enough about F1? It obviously got the Best Picture nomination, but it's not really going to win anything else. And I guess it could win sound. Like you said, it's a great sound achievement. But maybe Sinners does kind of pull it off here, especially because we know it's winning score. I don't know. I'm I could see it. I could definitely see Sinners winning here. And if Sinners does win here, I think
we
that
will be
bodes
looking
well.
at each other.
Yes. Ooh, hello.
Yeah.
A little antenna going up. So.
Yeah, I think a win here will be something in our live stream, which hopefully everyone will be watching along with us during the Oscars. If Sinners wins this, we will be kind of saying, oh shit, it might really be happening.
Yeah.
I did in the newsletter, I should win just for my personal preference in here. And I had a hard time picking it, but I did just want to shout out Surat. What a cool nomination. What great sound. It would be, I don't think it's going to win, but it would be a fun world if it did.
I do think it's we've talked about how it's unfortunate that the Oscars lately have kind of coalesced around the same 5 movies. It feels right. We've talked about that. Yeah. But when you watch something like Surat get a nomination here, it is cool. It's a zone of interest obviously won, and I don't think Surat is going to win, but it is in that level where you're this is an outsider nomination, and you could have imagined any number of other blockbusters or Wicked or something getting in here. And that they went with Surat is really cool. I agree. Yeah. And I think it's an all female sound team, which I remember they were
Yes, I remember
plugging.
getting press releases about the all female sound team. Sure. Yeah, we need when the season is over, we need to do a an in memoriam for all the the PR stunts and the angles everyone's been trying to pitch us on these things. It goes on forever. Okay, best costume design. Frankenstein has just been so out in front for so long on this, and the costumes are beautiful. Obviously, everything Mia Goth wears in that movie, it is a real crafts accomplishment. And I think Frankenstein's nomination tally tells you that the craft branches really recognize what great work this is. I don't really get why it's just been running away with it this much, though, especially with Ruth Carter right there with the huge Best Picture frontrunner.
I get it is kind of it's obviously the period gowns, and they're all are very elaborate, and it is mostly focused on Mia Goth, who looks great, and they have all these big dresses. But I kind of agree with you. I mean, I think we're both picking Frankenstein.
Yeah, I think
here.
we're both predicting Frankenstein.
And yet again, not to Ruth Carter won for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was way more elaborate as well. But was maybe going to lose in there to Elvis, right? That was a big and it was kind of an unexpected second Oscar win for her. The Sinners costumes are not elaborate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is much more period, 1930s period wear, and it looks great. And so I could see it if it's not as flashy as Frankenstein, maybe it doesn't win. But again, if Ruth Carter won here, we would both be antennas going up.
Yeah.
And does this mean Sinners is on a real run? I think Frankenstein will win. All the precursors haven't won. Sometimes with these craft categories, I do feel a voter is just what has won? What are people talking about? I'm just going to vote for it. If they don't have a real strong connection to the category or the craft, right? If they're just oh, well, I like Frankenstein enough. And like you said, it got so many nominations. So we'll stick with Frankenstein. But yeah, I think Sinners actually could win. And this is a really cool category. I know you interviewed the Avatar costume designer, which is the coolest nomination
so
maybe
cool.
of the whole
It's such a
whole
cool
season.
I know. It's amazing.
It's so cool.
Even she seemed pleasantly surprised by it. And, I did a Q&A with them, and they had an exhibit with the costumes, like the actual physical costumes exhibited on these Na'vi mannequins. And it's just incredible. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
really
and
cool.
I assume that within the broader academy, the word maybe hasn't gotten out enough that these costumes are real. And you got to be in some kind of a strong position to win in the costume category. Like, I was just like looking back at it, and like Cruella manages to win, but it's up against as Best Picture nominees Dune and West Side Story. I think it's hard to win as a non-Best Picture nominee, at least not in that conversation. And I think that the idea that the Oscars love a period piece is a little outdated, but in costumes it like really is true. Like, it's kind of the only explanation I can come up with for Poor Things beating Barbie. In this category, which Barbie is so about costumes in this way that nothing else is. So I think that like great gowns, beautiful gowns, and those gowns in Frankenstein are really beautiful. I gotta give credit.
Whenever I've talked to costume designers, not that I'm talking to them very often, but they do bemoan that it is like contemporary or even like modern. You know what I mean? Like modern, anything modern. So even like from 1930s, like up, it feels like is often discounted for like the costume dramas, which is not necessarily super fair. And like you said, Barbie, Poor Thing's great gowns, beautiful gowns. But like Barbie is so memorable and like the work there is so cool. Yeah. It is like kind of like crazy that it didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, it's true for also Marty Supreme. I talked to the costume designer for that at one point, and just the amount of thought put into these characters and where they are in their lives and why Marty's undershirts would look the way that they look. Like, it's such an incredible feat that they do. I mean, all costume designers do amazing works. I think you've said in the newsletter, no matter who wins, we win. Okay, so we're both predicting Frankenstein for this, which is the same for makeup and hairstyling. This is another one kind of like Avatar that just doesn't really feel like a contest.
I agree. And like, what else? I don't know. Like, it's just, you look at the past, like the big transformation. Yeah, like Smashing Machine, I think would qualify in there as well, but it's obviously
Smashing
not.
Machine made it in here. That really was a remarkable feat of work there.
And then the other ones, like this is a crazy category in terms of like, will people say will they have watched these movies? Like, are the Oscar voters, the blue-haired Oscar voters are going to put on The Ugly Stepsister? I mean, I find that like
3-hour-long Cuckoo-Ho. I mean, that's not even blue hairs. That's like I got to go back to work. I don't have time to watch Cuckoo-Ho, which I watched some of. I wanted to watch more of it. It was really beautiful.
So it's an interesting category, but I do think Frankenstein will win. The makeup is so cool, obviously. Like, I think Sinners is as well, like we've talked about, like in terms of like that. But like the Frankenstein makeup and the transformation on Jacob Elordi is like really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Frankenstein, you get like creature effects makeup even more than in Sinners, and like the beautiful period looks. Like, it just kind of is it's the whole package. Yeah. Okay, Frankenstein, our prediction for makeup and hairstyling. Now on to Best Cinematography, which is a wild ride this year. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a cinematography race that, much like Best Picture, I guess, kind of feels like it's bouncing all over the place. Tell me about the precursors in this.
Well, all the critics groups went to Sinners, basically, and Autumn Durald Arkpa. But then now that we're getting down to it, Michael Bauman for One Battle has won British Cinematographer Society and American Cinematographer Society and BAFTA. So it feels like the industry is really broken to One Battle. And like you wrote in the thing, like in the newsletter, Autumn Durald Arkpa would be a historic winner. There's never been a female winner in the category, and she has campaigned incredibly heavily for this whole time. And it's been really exciting. And like, I think the cinematography in Sinners is fantastic, and the way they use the large format cinematography. It's kind of
famous. Like, it's such a huge part of the narrative of that movie, even more than for One Battle, I think.
And yet, I think everything is pointing towards One Battle winning here. So that's I'm going with One Battle. But in my heart, I really want Sinners to win. And then I didn't even mention Train Dreams, which I know you love, and you talked to Adolfo.
And it won Critics' Choice, as we're saying.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just like, it's tough, but I do think it's going to be One Battle in the end.
I guess vote splitting isn't a thing that happens in these categories where it's just you vote for one winner. But I just do think of like the One Battle versus Sinners, like, competing against each other and giving you a lane for Train Dreams to come through. I don't think that math adds up, but it seems like an interesting twist that could be thrown in at the end.
I'm always wondering about vote splitting and like how that works. And I guess we'll talk about that more as we get into like the acting categories. But I do think that like One Battle is so strong. It's again an incredibly strong year where you have these incredibly memorable images from Sinners, and then also One Battle where you're just like, and it has that VistaVision large format thing as well.
Yeah, I mean that River of Hills in One Battle is just one of the most beautifully shot things.
Pretty incredible.
Ever.
And like that obviously won last year with like The Brutalist, where it's like the big movie and stuff. But I do think, man, Autumn Dark Darkpaw should win an Oscar, hopefully. It's just crazy that they've not, like, I remember when Ari Wegner, right, was up for Power of the Dog. It was like, oh, maybe that could win because it was so beautiful. And it lost to Dune, which was like, I guess understandable. Like Greg Fraser is awesome. And then I think Molly Walker, right, was up for Elvis, right, as a woman, a female cinematographer, right?
I haven't opened. Mandy Walker, yeah.
Mandy Walker, Molly, not Molly. Mandy.
Lost to All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a little hard to argue with. I mean, the scope of what that movie does is pretty insane.
So it is like, man, it's tough, but like, yeah, I think it's going to be one battle. But in my heart, Sinners.
We should shout out Rachel Morrison, who's the first woman nominated, who lost to Roger Deakins. Heard of him. For Blade Runner 2049, which is just a weird movie for Roger Deakins to have won for. But yeah, if we want to go back and fix Oscar history, because Deakins wins 2 years later for 1917, like just let Rachel Morrison have that one for Mudbound, and then we can move, because Hoyte van Hoytema was nominated for Dunkirk. He finally wins for Oppenheimer. We can fix all of this. Okay,
it's great.
Love the cinematography category. I might change to One Battle before Oscar night. Like I wrote in the newsletter, I want to stick with Autumn Dark Darkpaw. I do think there's a good narrative there, which you don't often get in this category. And if you have the full Academy voting and they're aware of it, but you might probably be right.
I mean, I think if it like that would be the thing, right? Like it's like, oh, like the whole Academy is voting, and while they love One Battle clearly and gave it a bunch of nominations, and and Michael Bauman's won all these industry awards. You're right. The narrative on like she did an interview with like CBS, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like she's done like
she has been
legitimate
very
campaigning,
out there, and I don't think Michael Bauman has been
not as much, right? So
quite
it's like
as visible.
no, like yeah. So
I mean, he like a lot of like PTA collaborators like is not like an in the club Oscar person. Like this is his first nomination, so it's interesting to kind of to see everyone emerging in that way. Okay, so I'm sticking with Sinners. You're going with One Battle After Another for cinematography. On to production design. Why can't Jack Fisk win this Oscar, Chris?
I don't know, but I don't think he's going to. I'm so bummed about this.
I mean, Marty Supreme, like, I guess we'll talk about Timothée Chalamet in a little bit. Like the worm turning on Marty Supreme, I don't think we're making that up. I don't think it's just like internet hype and, you know, the Josh Safdie story that came out a while ago at this point. It does feel like it got all those nominations and a lot of people are ready to say, okay, that's enough. Goodbye.
It does seem that it has absolutely become like the villain of the second phase of this Oscar season.
Crazy.
And like, yeah, like I don't think Jack Fisk is going to win, certainly. And it's a shame because he'd be a great winner. Again, another category where you're like, oh man, all these nominees are great. I'd love Hannah Beachler would be awesome. I thought like the production design in Sinners is so cool, and she's obviously a winner for Black Panther.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's going to be Frankenstein. Again, hard to argue. Like Tamara Deverell, like they built like everything.
They built
like,
that
anything
ship.
You see,
that ship's pretty incredible.
That ship, which is crazy. All this stuff in the Dr. Frankenstein's office.
Yeah.
Does he call it an office? What do you think he calls
laboratory.
it? Laboratory. Yes,
I don't know.
You're right.
That's like classic Frank. I have no idea if that's what they call it in the
think
movie.
You're right. It's probably a laboratory, and I'm going to say it like that and continue to say it like laboratory. But those big battery things, that was all built.
Yeah.
You know, like it is kind of crazy the amount of scope in Frankenstein. So I do think it'll win. But like, yeah, like Jack Fisk is the GOAT, and so
yeah. I mean, I wrote it down for a should win. I don't even want to predict it as like an outlier, like possibility. Because if we're talking about narrative, like he has gotten out there. He does not do a lot of interviews. Like I got to talk to him as a lot of other people did too. But it isn't quite on the same level of Autumn Dark Darkpaw of like, I am going to be the face of this thing. And I think that like there's enough people who are going to look at Marty Supreme. Honestly, it's like a Marty Mauser personality thing. They're like, oh, that guy. Even though Jack Fisk is like the nicest man alive and also incredibly talented. So we'll both stick with Frankenstein for this one. Okay, documentary feature. This is another one where I felt kind of confident about where the energy was on this, which is that I thought The Perfect Neighbor, also from Gita Chanbir, who we mentioned in the documentary shorts, was really the front runner. And then you kind of came at me with the precursors and said it's not nearly as clear cut a situation as I thought.
To be fair, it is the front runner. It just hasn't really won any. Like it has been nominated everywhere. Perfect Neighbor, and it was probably like hit and miss whether it would even make it in because the doc branch sometimes doesn't like this like found like source footage or whatever you want to call it.
This was such a weird doc race in general.
100%, but it lost like a Producers Guild and Directors Guild. Perfect Neighbor, but to movies not nominated at the Oscars. So at the Directors Guild, I believe let me see. I think it lost to 2,000 Miles in Andrivica or whatever.
Yep.
And then I think at the Producers Guild, it was My Mom Jane, which is the Jane Mansfield movie that Mariska Hargitay.
Too celebrity for the doc branch.
Certainly. And so it has those nominations, but it lost. The only place it lost to an actual nominee was at BAFTA, where what is it? The Putin movie.
No, Mr. Nobody Against Putin. Which did you see that one?
Putin. No,
I really liked it. I was so impressed with it when I finally watched it.
And so that leads me to believe it's vulnerable, or it's just a strange front runner. I still think it's going to win. And like I looked at the prediction markets, Katey, they're it's still like pretty strongly favored.
Okay.
And I think because it's Netflix and like you said, the whole Academy is voting. People have obviously seen this. I do think it's going to win, but at the same time, I can't help but think it hasn't really won in these other places. And then maybe that's a show that it's not as strong, right? Like producers and directors didn't vote for it.
Yeah.
And like, does that mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Who knows? They can't vote for what they voted for. So that's probably a good sign.
You have to assume, I mean, again,
go.
there's like the honor system of saying that you've watched it. The visibility of The Perfect Neighbor, I think it is the only one of these that's had any kind of vast viewership. Although I do think Come See Me in the Good Light has found its people. It's got Tig Notaro backing it. Andrea Gibson had a lot of fans as well. But The Perfect Neighbor is both really timely, has that Netflix bump of visibility. I think that has to count for a lot.
Yes.
And it also just... the way that we translate so much of life through Ring doorbell footage and body cam footage, like it made me think about that so much. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in documentary because our lives are so surveilled at this point. And the way that it tells the story, not just of this crime, but like bringing out the personality of this neighborhood, it's really moving. I liked all of these documentaries. I think it's a really good lineup, but I think it might actually be the best one too.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like I said, I think having the whole Academy vote, it's definitely the one that was most seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Millions of people watched it in real life on Netflix. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was a significant hit for Netflix.
It's a rare Netflix doc hit that proper doc people respect. I had a hard time coming up with a could win. What is the oddball? Is it Mr. Nobody Against Putin because of the BAFTA? I went with Come See Me in the Good Light because it's visible. What do you think?
I mean, I think those are the two. I think Come and See Me in the Good Light, again, typically this kind of celeb, I hazard to call this movie about somebody dying a celeb movie, but it is more celeb coded, right? Certainly in its backing and its subject is someone in the arts. That's I do think that helps. And I think Come and See Me in the Good Light would be a really cool winner as well. And then Mr. Nobody Against Putin, again, timely kind of, right? And also has maybe more international support than these other two.
Yeah.
But how much is that going to matter when there's still 75% of the Academy is not international? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think it'll probably be Perfect Neighbor. That's what I'm going to pick too. I'm just saying, if there is an upset, I think it would be Mr. Nobody Against Putin.
It feels like when you can't identify an obvious upset, then you should probably go with the front runner. So, okay, we're both going with The Perfect Neighbor. On to animated feature, which is much easier to predict. It is kind of funny that Zootopia 2 just has not been taken all that seriously as a contender here.
It is, but I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters, they're definitely at the end of the enthusiasm for K-pop Demon Hunters. Do you get that? I think people are kind of over it.
It's been around for oh 8 months.
So long, and everybody's watched it a million times. But I mean, it is hard to think that anything else would win here.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah, it. I was thinking about when it didn't win what Grammy Song of the Year, Record of the Year, or something like that. I was like, is there an enthusiasm gap here? But there's it wasn't a great year for animation in general. I like Zootopia 2 a lot, but I don't think it felt as fun and it popped out as much as the first one. So, yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters. Let's go. Will your kid be excited, or are you guys over it?
I think we're over it, and this is an interesting thing. I think all of her. So here's a funny thing, as an aside here, Katey, because we have so much time. But coming up for spring break, we have spring break, and we did they have day camp, camps you can do instead of having your child sit home and stare at the TV, which we would also do. But we're we'll put her in a performing arts camp or whatever for the first part of spring break, and the theme was K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh.
And this was booked months ago. And when I told her about it recently, she was mad. She was I don't want to do this. I'm well, we already paid for it, so you are doing it. But I was oh, interesting. And I know from some of her friends, I think they're a little tired of it, which I wonder when the sequel comes out in 3 years, will that be enough time to get people re-enthused, or will they have forgotten about it? I guess we'll find out in 3 years, and we can revisit this conversation. But I thought that was interesting.
Like, my kids loved the Mario movie, and we don't think about Mario stuff that much at all. But they were hyped for Mario Galaxy, so I think it can come back around.
Yeah,
and,
I think
and
that's
catch
true.
you.
I think that's true.
Okay, on to Best Casting, which is such a great lineup of nominees. So exciting. I love that The Secret Agent got in here. As I think you wrote in the newsletter, like, these people deserve even more credit than they get for putting these things together. My personal pick that I thought would have been so obvious when I saw One Battle After Another, I said, oh my God, the ensemble they have here, all these faces, all these incredibly memorable people who you see for one line or two. But I think the energy is in favor of Sinners and Francine Maisler, who is an absolute legend in the field. It is a little bit of a career win for her to win the first ever casting Oscar. And I'm not mad about it. And the discovery of Miles Caton alone is a huge accomplishment. I think she's going to run away with it. What do you think?
I think so also. But I would, again, to your point, and this is maybe the challenge of this Oscar race. It's like, but also One Battle, right? Or what also Sinners in all these categories. You can be like, oh, but wouldn't it be cool if they also won? And so I think One Battle is a very strong alternate here. And again, if it does win, which would be an upset based on like what we know, like just based on vibes or just anything, I would say like, oh, that's a tell that like One Battle is going to do even better than we expect.
That would be big.
But I do think it'll be Sinners. I also think, and I think I mentioned this, but I'm like, how do people vote for this? And we won't really know until we kind of get more data on it over the next several years. But like, if it's just considered, if it's a casting prize and like they're talking about like how people cast movies and like all these things, is that slightly different than the Best Ensemble prize, which is what you wonder if it will default to that, right? Like, I hope not. But when all the Academy is voting, maybe they're like, oh, well, it's Sinners because like it's the best.
Like we love the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the One Battle also has an incredible ensemble.
Exactly. But I do think it'll be Sinners as well.
It makes you think about like The Secret Agent does not really hold up to that ensemble scrutiny because it's not really an ensemble film. It just has like dozens of incredible faces in the background of it. Okay, now we're on to the part of the newsletter I haven't written yet. That's going to be out on Thursday. So I don't know what's on your mind as much for most of these. I know. But Best Original Song is an easy one to start with. I mean, I have heard slightly trolly friends of ours say, what if Sinners is so strong that I lied to you wins original song instead of Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters. Do you put any stock in that?
I don't. The only, especially here's why, because like last year we went into the Oscars and it was like, man, you know what people did not like going into the Oscars? Amelia Perez, right? And it was like, and you know what song is not super memorable? El Mal. And it still won because I think people just not thinking incredibly deeply about this category when they vote. And they're just going to kind of pick the song that has been dominant throughout the season. And this year, Golden is actually a great song. It's still really good, even if the movie is tiring.
And that song is going to live forever. Also.
And so I think it's just like not even a contest here. I think it'll be Golden.
I mean, part of the problem with Amelia Perez is the rest of the nominees were pretty weak. Like at least this group of nominees, you know, I'm not sure about Sweet Dreams of Joy and Dear Me, but you know, the Train Train song is good. I Lied to You is good. It's a fun lineup. But
do you ever read any of the anonymous Oscar ballots, Katey?
You know, I saw them coming in over the weekend, and I just I didn't dip in. What'd you find?
Well, there was just one I honestly forget because everyone does them now. It's from like THR to Variety to like Next Best Picture. All of them do it. So I forget which one this was, but one of them was like about the song category, waxing poetic about Diane Warren and like how she deserves to finally get an Oscar and blah blah blah, and then still picked Gold. So I was like, you know, bad news for Diane, I guess. So.
There are some years, like last year, we could have just handed it to Diane instead of Amelia Perez and been done with it. This is not that year. It is an enormous error for them to not give it to Golden.
Yes.
Okay, on to original score, which is better news for Sinners because it sure looks like Ludwig Göransson is going to win his third Oscar in like 8 years. Like it's happened very quickly that Ludwig Göransson has just like rocketed up to John Williams status.
It's crazy, and like it almost feels like no one is even considering anybody else here, right?
Which
like
I find crazy, is driving me nuts.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think he's great though. You can't argue Ludwig Göransson is not like a GOAT here, obviously, and like the score is great, but there are other great scores, and
including Johnny Greenwood, who does not have an Oscar,
including Johnny Greenwood. But I do think it's going to be Ludwig and Sinners. It just seems like people even back in the spring of last year when people were like, when we were still like, myself included, like, oh, was what is Sinners is.
Can Sinners make it all the way?
Exactly. It was still like, well, obviously score is in play because it's like Ludwig's score and it was really good.
Yeah.
So I do think like he'll end up winning again. Like you said, a third Oscar somehow. And like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
He won for Oppenheimer.
Well,
he won for Black Panther in 2018. It's nuts.
Yeah. How old is Ludwig Göransson? How old do you think he is?
I think he's probably in his 40s. He looks young.
See. Oh, he is like three months younger than me. Like he's born September 1st, 1984. So yeah, that's young. We're very youthful. Ludwig Göransson.
Yes.
My hot take that I think I said to you when I rewatched Sinners recently is I think the score is good, but I think its songs is really what this is. And how long has it been since they had like a best song score Oscar? Do you remember that concept?
Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember when they got rid of it, but yes.
But that's kind of what this is. And he was obviously involved in a lot of the songs. And, you cannot, I guess he's credited on the song nomination for I Lied to You as well, right? So in theory, he could win 2 Oscars in a night. But I think this isn't a score win. This is a song win. And not that makes his work any less accomplished, but feels maybe a little off of what he deserves to win for. I just think the Johnny Greenwood One Battle score is so good and unusual, and like his contribution to film scores is so fascinating. Like it's not nearly as traditional as what you might have gotten for like if he'd won. He got nominated for Phantom Thread, right?
He did get nominated for Phantom Thread, and he got nominated for Power of the Dog too.
Oh right, but not for There Will Be Blood.
No, let me look.
No, he did not get nominated for There Will Be Blood. Okay, so we're both predicting Ludwig Göransson and Sinners to win here. How about film editing? This is a fun one. And once again, it's coming down, I think, to one battle after another in Sinners.
They keep winning, and they both won at the Ace Eddie Awards, right? We were talking about before. So Sinners won drama and One Battle won comedy, which is interesting that, we think of those designations mostly for Golden Globes, but there are all these other guilds that also do kind of split like that. And that is why it's fun. When the studio does that, then it helps them kind of rack up. So we don't really know necessarily how these will face off against each other, though obviously I think One Battle won at BAFTA. I'm going to go with One Battle here just because, again, I think, you can make a case for Sinners, certainly. And I think F1 even would be in here because it's the big noisy action movie.
F1 is an interesting one to split the difference, right? Because you get editing winners that are big action-y movies that are never going to win Best Picture a decent amount.
Yes.
But you don't often have Best Picture frontrunners that are as action heavy as either One Battle or Sinners.
And I think with regard to One Battle winning, I do think it's the pacing was something that people really clocked right away and how it really moves. And not that Sinners doesn't, because obviously I think it's also entertaining.
Yeah.
But when you watch One Battle, you're like, oh, this is flying by. It really does move at a great pace. And then you said, the River of Hills sequence, I think the editing, and that is just kind of absolutely off the chain. It's so good. And people, it is really memorable. And I think that will help it win here. So I'm going to go with One Battle in the end.
Yeah. Not to just be
close.
Airing out my Sinners hot takes nonstop, but I do think about the arrival of the vampires when they finally go into the barn, and that action sequence is not the strongest part of the movie. It's a little hard to follow. Kind of reminds me of the big fight scene at the end of Black Panther also, which is funny because Creed has one of the best boxing sequences of all time. So it's not a consistent thing. But you compare that Sinners fight sequence feeling a little hard to follow to that River of Hills sequence where it's just completely meticulous, and that feels like a pretty strong contrast to me.
I 100% agree. I love Sinners like you also, and rewatched it recently, and it's confounding what's happening in that scene. Sometimes you don't know where are certain characters and why they're in there and who they are and who's fighting who. And it does kind of it's still really fun because you're this is awesome. You're watching vampires fight other people and everybody's getting killed. And it's oh man, this is really a great action sequence. But at the same time, when you think more deeply about it, you're what is kind of happening here? Whereas One Battle, like you said, it's like you are on point the entire time. You know where everybody is. You know how far away everybody is. You kind of have the feeling in that movie of just total control. Yeah. And I think that's really important here for the editing. So I think that's why it's going to win. Yeah.
That's also kind of why I secretly want One Battle to win sound, because he's nominated for sound. Yes, but the sound in that River of Hills, the engine on Leo's car, sounding like a toy motor versus the other ones is so good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Car sounds. What a year for car sounds it's been. Just one last thing about editing. I think if One Battle's going to win Best Picture, it wins editing. I think it just kind of will.
I kind of think so too, right? Like it would be strange if it won. So like you look at the last few winners, Anora won, right? And this was like last year, we don't have to go back very far. Like last year, it was like Nick Emerson for Conclave versus Nora and Sean Baker. And like Nick Emerson was like pretty competitive. I think he also won at BAFTA. And it was like, oh, can Conclave win editing? Even if Honora is going to win Best Picture, maybe it will. And it didn't. You know what I mean? Like it just does the last few, Honora, Oppenheimer, Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
Dune won over Power of the Dog, but Coda wasn't nominated. And Sound of Metal won over Nomadland, which was a Best Picture winner, obviously.
Sound
so you
of
have to
Metal
go back.
Editing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Did it also win sound?
It did win sound, yes.
God, Sound of Metal's a good movie. I don't understand. Did not remember that at all.
I mean, that was like the COVID year. Nobody remembers anything.
I know.
So.
Wow, good for you, Sound of Metal.
But if you go, I mean, I'll belabor this a little more. If you go back further than 2020, like Ford vs. Ferrari won, Parasite was nominated and did not win. Bohemian Rhapsody won, Green Book was nominated and didn't win. Dunkirk won. No, Dunkirk won. Shape of Water was nominated and didn't win. So it doesn't necessarily have to go Best Picture. Moonlight didn't win. You know, like there was a run here where the Best Picture winner did not win, but it just got the nomination. That said, the last three have all been Best Picture winners. And I do think this year will be as well.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we compare One Battle and Oppenheimer often enough in terms of like these huge lumbering movies that just move like crazy. Like the editing in Oppenheimer is way flashier, obviously, but there's just like a similar like huge but fleet-footed at the same time quality to both
100%.
of them. Almost like they are made by directors who know what they're doing. Okay, Best International Feature. This one is really fun. And I feel like it's most people seem to think it's going to go to The Secret Agent, but I don't know why we aren't considering Sentimental Value more strongly in this category. It feels like a showdown between the two of them to me.
I mean, Sentimental Value should on paper win, right? It's got 9 nominations and 4 acting nominations, and I do think it is broadly the most obvious one to win. It got a directing nomination, right? And it's in screenplay. Like it is and a Best Picture nomination as well. So it's like is certainly the favorite. I'm not sure what to do here. I think Secret Agent has got the passion and like clearly is competitive to win. I kind of think it's going to be Secret Agent just because of that.
I think it is. I agree.
I don't know,
but it just feels competitive. And
it feels really competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, like Sentimental Value, I think could very easily win. And again, like I think more like I don't know at this point when they're both Best Picture nominees, it's hard to say who's more widely seen. But like Sentimental Value at least is more accessible, I would argue, right? Because it's like a lot of it is in English, certainly, and like you have real movies, like big movie stars in it and stuff. I don't know. I just think the passion for Secret Agent will win out, but Sentimental Value is definitely like the safe choice and like would not be a bad winner. I don't think either one of these would be bad winners.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, Sentimental Value deserves more of a passion vote than it. Like, I think it's so easy to look at and be like, oh yes, it's the very nice movie that people want to win, but it's so much more than that. But, it's hard. I'm gonna go with Secret Agent also.
Okay, I think we both might be wrong, but I think we're right. I'm going to stick with us being right because I just think like it just hasn't, like Sentimental Value. I think is one. It won at BAFTA, right? I think, right? Didn't it win at BAFTA?
Did Sentimental Value win? Oh yeah, because BAFTA was really didn't give Secret Agent the time of day.
No, and so like I'm like it has that kind of, we have that in there as like it's in there. So
yeah,
it has that precursor. But yeah, I do think Secret Agent could pull it off just on passion. I think people really like it. And, we were saying like some of these categories, not that Secret Agent's a latecomer because they both premiered at Cannes.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the Secret Agent rollout was a little slower than Sentimental Value in terms of like gathering enthusiasm. And it's
really
maybe peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I mean, it has just like the internet in the power of Brazil and like Wagner Moura and all the stuff that we've talked about over and over again with that. Okay, let's go to the screenplay categories, which do feel sewn up in a way that I would not have predicted a couple months ago. Like, I think before this race was really just down to 2 movies, I kind of saw a lot of paths here. But, I mean, should we just do them both combined?
I think we could.
Yeah, I mean, so original is going to go to Sinners and Adapted is going to go to One Battle After Another.
Yes.
Like, clean break right there.
100%. So then regardless of what happens, it is interesting to think that, like, regardless of what happens at the end, like, both PTA and Ryan Coogler will have won Oscars before we get to, like, Best Director and Best Picture. And so it's going to take a little
relief. right?
Yes, it's going to take a little of like the tension out of it just because it's like, well, they both won already. And they both deserve to have Oscars. I think
Exactly.
like PTA maybe more, like not more so, but you know, I mean, because he's been so many nominations, his historical career. Like it's great to have PTA finally winning an Oscar, and it will be here for adapted screenplay. And then Ryan Coogler getting an Oscar for Sinners is something I think everybody wants and will happen here in original screenplay.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to the other 8 nominees, but like, thanks for playing, basically. I mean, like One Battle is one, I think it won, they both won WGA awards over the weekend. I think One Battle I saw has won more precursors than anything since like Social Network.
Yeah.
And that's that's
I had
crazy.
because I thought we'd had way more like runaway screenplay winners in recent years than that would tell you.
I think we have a little, but also because like the WGA rules are like, so some of these screenplays don't get in, right? Because of the eligibility.
Yeah.
That said, like One Battle is like absolutely like it is like a historic precursor run in screenplay, and Sinners is no slouch either, obviously. Like there's one so many times, including at the WGA. So like these are great winners. I think these are really strong categories as well. But yeah, that seems like we'll both get an Oscar there for these movies.
Yeah,
so.
And as much as like I feel like Ryan Coogler's accomplishment, like as a writer-director, like is more as a director. Like we think of how he works with actors and his visual sense. Like the ideas of Sinners, kind of the idea to mesh this like blues and vampires and this history and kind of like keep the themes of it really big and broad and not sit down and explain to you like what the vampires mean. Like that is all writing. So I think as much as part of me thinks like, oh God, it feels like if it's screenplay, like that barely even like captures what he accomplished with this. In some ways, I think that's also correct because they can't both win director. So someone's got to figure it out.
We'll talk about this later, but where are we on thinking any ties this year?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, we always want there to be a tie, but like...
I mean, not in these categories, but I'm like later on, will there be ties? Like, will we see a tie in one of these big categories? That would be crazy.
Again, we will be live streaming, talking to the Oscars. You will watch me and Chris like elevate to a higher plane of existence. There's a tie.
I'm always against ties. Like, I think it's kind of hack, but this year maybe it actually is warranted.
Well,
so we'll see.
It's not like a critics group sitting down being like, let's agree to a tie. Like, it's just such a crazy statistical thing.
Yes,
it's just very hard to get there. We need whoever presents it to be more prepared than when, like, remember there was the sound editing tie that Mark Wahlberg presented in like 2012, and he was just like, "Ooh, you need the Ingrid Bergman gravity of the moment." When Katharine Hepburn and Barbara Streisand both won. Okay, you ready to get into the acting categories? I'm so stressed, Chris.
It's stressful. It's so stressful.
Let's start with supporting actor, which is just, I guess it's a real head and heart thing. Have you made your piece, and are you predicting Sean Penn here?
I am predicting Sean Penn. He won at BAFTA. He won at SAG. And he's got arguably like the biggest part, though I think there's a lot of co-leads in this category. It's Stellan Skarsgård and Jacob Elordi. Yeah. And he's also maybe the most memorable. And he's playing a villain. And I just think like all of this put together, like he's just going to win. I don't know. It would be great if Delroy Lindo won. I know you're on the team Delroy, and maybe you'll predict him here in a second. And like we'll talk about later, like we don't know, since Delroy Lindo hasn't been nominated anywhere else. We have no idea how Sean Penn would go against Delroy Lindo. Yeah. That said, I do think if One Battle and Sinners are going to win Best Picture, they have to win an acting award. And this feels like the best spot for One Battle. And so I'm going to pick Sean Penn. Yeah,
that logic is what stops me all the time about like, is One Battle really going to win Best Picture without any acting awards? And we'll get to supporting actress in a moment. But I think if the Sinners vibe shift is real, Delroy Lindo has been the most visible person in all of it. He has been absolutely everywhere. I mean, he said it himself at some point that like the mess at the BAFTAs like really did turn a negative into a positive. He didn't mean that in terms of his like campaign, but I just think that's true. And Michael B. Jordan, again, we'll get to him in a moment as well. And also, you know what? This isn't legally binding. Like, I don't have to like sign my oath in blood. Why not let me predict Delroy Lindo here?
You should.
Let me do it for the sake. I mean, you will probably be the correct one. And this is not because I have anything against Sean Penn. I love One Battle After Another. His performance in that is just like an all-timer. I think that I may have said this on the podcast at some point. Like when Don Bongino, is that how you say his name? The ICE Border Patrol guy.
Yes.
Was like on the news all the time. It's like people will look back and assume that Paul Thomas Anderson based Sean Penn's character on that guy, but he just happened to exist in real life. Like that's how relevant that character is to the world that we're living in, and it makes perfect sense to give that an award in that way. But I'm going to predict Delroy Lindo anyway because I've made it this far. Why back down now? I'll feel so bad if I back off and then it happens, you know?
You can't do that. That's 100%. You got to go down. And I mean, I don't think it's not like completely without like warrant. You know what I mean? Like, I think we don't know. We just don't know. Like, and I think we'll say this over and over again. At least we'll talk about this certainly with Best Actor. We don't know because he hasn't been nominated anywhere. And like he is in a strong, you could argue he's in a stronger spot than Marcia Gay Harden was when she won for Pollock because he's in the Best Picture, kind of front runner.
Totally.
Now, so is Sean Penn. But Sean Penn is also against Benicio, which we've talked about. He hasn't pulled any votes, and maybe there's no such thing as vote splitting. That said, like, he is in the same movie, and he is giving a beloved performance, and he is also a past winner. And, you could kind of talk yourself into Delroy Lindo pretty easily, honestly, I think, here. Like, I'm going to stick with Sean Penn just because he won BAFTA and he won SAG. But, like, yeah, if it's Delroy, I would just be like, it would be awesome. It would be total, to me, it would be like thrilling if he actually won.
What a great way to kick off the night, too.
And it would be really cool. So I'm going to predict Sean Penn, but I'm going to be rooting for Delroy.
Do you think Sean Penn is going to go to the Oscars?
I kind of think he will.
I think he will, too.
I don't think he'll pass up on the Oscars. I think he will go.
There was a point where I was looking at the Kalshi odds, and they had like lower odds on him attending than like Margot Robbie. It's like, I don't really know why that would be true. Like, people were really just assuming he was going to skip the whole thing. But yeah, I think he'll show up. Will he smoke indoors? There should be a side bet on that.
That's a great Kalshi market.
Yeah.
We should talk to Matthew Frank about that.
We need to. Richard Rushfield will be there. We need standing in the bar. We need to see if he lights up indoors. Okay, supporting actress, an even more stressful category.
Oh my God.
To me, this feels like a 30-30-30 or 33-33-33 split between Amy Madigan, Tiana Taylor, and Wunmi Mosaku, and I cannot figure out which way it's going to land.
So I totally agree. I was looking at this. So when it's just Amy Madigan and Tiana Taylor, right, which was at the Golden Globes, no Wunmi Mosaku, Tiana Taylor won. Mm-hmm. When it was Wunmi Mosaku and Tiana Taylor with no Amy Madigan,
that's at BAFTAs,
which was a BAFTAs, Wunmi Mosaku won. And then when it's all three of them, which was SAG and Critics' Choice, Amy Madigan won.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that actually. I could spin up some conspiracies or ideas about what that means, but I do think it means that, to your point, it is pretty evenly split between the three of them. And I guess I kind of am going to go, I thought about this a lot, and I think I'm just going to go with Amy Madigan, even though it's so strange because she's obviously a lone nominee and the other two are Best Picture frontrunners. I kind of keep defaulting to just being incredibly memorable. She's in it less than these other two actresses. She's only in the movie like 13 minutes in Weapons, I think, or 14 minutes. It's not like she's in it that much, but it feels like she's in it the whole time. And it's just so memorable. And I think that kind of, that enthusiasm and that memorableness of the character plus her narrative gives her a slight edge. But if you told me Wunmi Mosaku won, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. What
about Tiana Taylor?
I think Tiana Taylor, the one reason I'm reticent to pick her is, you could say this about Wunmi too, because Wunmi Mosaku lost at SAG to Amy Madigan, but Sinners obviously was so strong at SAG. So like, why did Wunmi Mosaku lose then? You could argue. And at BAFTA, I kind of arguing the same thing. Like, why did Tiana Taylor not win when One Battle won like 6 other awards, including Sean Penn, which at the time was a surprise. Yeah. And Wunmi still won there. So I think they're really split between the two of them. I do think it's tight. And if any of them won again, like, I'd be like, of course,
I know. Well, this is the thing. I'm looking at my like acting predictions. I'm like, I might get 3 of the 4 acting predictions wrong. 100%. And afterwards we'll be like, well, of course this person won. But like at this point, you just see all of the different factors that could push it one way or another.
Yeah, I again, like I to our points too, like I feel like Sinners has to win an acting award to be competitive for picture if it's going to actually win. And maybe that's Wunmi, right? If it's not Michael B. Jordan, as we'll talk about in a second, we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I just am like, Amy Madigan would be such a strange winner because she'd be alone. I think since 2000, the only lone nominees to win here were Marcia Gay Harden, which we just talked about, was like a big shocking upset, right? Or like, didn't get nominated anywhere. And the other one was Penelope Cruz. I think she was a lone nominee for Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And yeah, she didn't sweep that year because she was up against like Kate Winslet for The Reader in a lot of categories, even though Kate Winslet ended up running in lead.
Yeah, so like, you that's could say, a very weird situation.
Super strange. So I was like, who knows? So anyway, long story short, I'm picking Amy Madigan.
I think that's probably what I should do. I keep, Again, you keep talking about one battle needing to win an acting award. I mean, this is just me being stubborn and not putting down Sean Penn, which is probably what I should have done. And now I've boxed myself into this situation. Because I think your logic about Tiana is right, like that she would have won BAFTA if she was as competitive here as that we thought she would be. Like the Globes were kind of before this Sinners surge that we're seeing, which makes me want to predict Wunmi here. But like that's also kind of a small role and doesn't have the like big theatrics of either Tiana Taylor or Amy Madigan, honestly. Like that character is pretty low key in a really important way and a way that really contributes to the movie as a whole. I mean, I'm looking over at Gold Derby where they like 50% of everyone was predicting Amy Madigan, which seems way too high. Like that's SAG recency bias talking there, I think.
I think so. I mean, like, I don't like, and the thing is though, I just keep going back to the memorability and I guess that's super subjective, but I'm just like, to your point, like Wunmi is great in Sinners. Like when I saw that back in March or April, it was like, man, she just pops off the screen. At the same time, it's not like there's nothing in like, there's no like big like Tiana or Amy having like great lines or incredible moments. You know what I mean? It's just like a cumulative effort for her performance for Wunmi. And I don't know if people vote that way, but like that I feel like is a tough hurdle to climb over.
Yeah.
Whereas Tiana is like incredibly memorable in her very short amount of screen time. Like she's only in the movie probably for 20 minutes as well. But like she is held over the whole movie. You know what I mean? So I think like if there is a big surge for one battle and it's going to just kind of overperform even, I think she probably would win. But, I'll stick with Amy Madigan just because what the hell? And why not?
Yeah, it feels like if Sinners was running away with Best Picture, then Wunmi would be a good person. Like that would be a Jamie Lee Curtis kind of thing where it's just like you get swept in along with everybody else. Yes. I still think there's a world in which Sinners wins 3 acting Oscars, but I'm going to predict Amy Madigan with you because I don't know if I'm a coward or what. I also be so excited. Like what I mean, and also if my Delroy logic is holding, then the Amy Madigan logic should hold. Not that ever happens where people vote the same way from category to category, but very similar narrative of people who are getting their due. So it'd be fun to see them together with Oscars in their hands.
And I would say, like, I guess if you're like a Weapons only had the one nomination, it made shortlist for casting, right? It had like a couple of shortlist things. It missed the makeup one where you're like, oh, that's strange. And yet all that she still got in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the end. And like, so that means she's like, there was so much passion for her just to get a nomination because like you could say like, she maybe shouldn't have even been here because of how they kind of responded to the movie, which was not strong. But I just think, I don't know. I think altogether that adds up. And it is such a memorable villain performance. I do think that kind of tracks for like Oscar history.
She and Sean Penn do kind of match together as a pair of supporting winners for that reason too. Let's knock out Best Actress before we get into actor.
Okay.
What do you think there's any reason, like why hasn't Jessie Buckley been challenged by anybody all season? Why is she going to just cruise through this crazy season with an Oscar?
I think I'm so glad she's. Congratulations on your Oscar, obviously, for Jessie Buckley.
Sorry about The Bride. It didn't see it came. The review embargo lifted late enough that it didn't hurt anything.
I don't think it hurt at all. It's not a Norbit or anything.
You didn't see The Bride, right?
No, I didn't.
I want to see it.
I kind of want to see it too, and I probably will eventually. Obviously, see it. I think the issue is that the other movies that these actresses were in are just either too small or like not super competitive. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You for Rose Byrne is a great nomination. And I know she was the critics' pick, obviously. She won. But it's like the movie is still so small by comparison to Hamnet. And I just think that kind of like puts Jessie above and beyond. And like, like the outright emotion that she's shown, it just is a great performance. I think it's actually now, I'm not the biggest Hamnet fan as you know, but I would say now it's almost underrated because I see people like kind of like,
People are being weird about Hamnet. People keep being weird about it. And then
and I think
Jessie Buckley versus Cats, that took over a little bit. I don't know. The Oscar season is too long.
Some of times, yes, I think it is. But I'll just say, like, I do think, like, now almost her performance has bounced around back to underrated because I think, like, people are just not giving her enough credit for how good it is and not remembering, like, when we saw this movie I saw it at Telluride, it was like, oh, wow, she's just fantastic. You know, whatever you think about the movie, it's like, oh, man, she really is. It's real acting, it's like, this is like Daniel Day-Lewis shit. So like, I think she'll definitely win and like deserves to win and great for Jessie Buckley to have an Oscar. So
yeah. We'll see The Bride eventually. That'll be a off-season episode. We talk about how she can be so great in Hamnet and then whatever happens in The Bride happened. All right. Best Actor. Timothée Chalamet's gone to war with all the fine arts institutions of America. Again, mostly happened after voting was closed, so it didn't seem to matter. And then Michael B. Jordan has been riding high. Honestly, Michael B. Jordan has been out here proving why he has been so careful in the press for his entire career with Chalamet running his mouth and getting in this level of trouble. I cannot let that ballet stuff matter. Like, I don't think it happened in time for any of that to matter. But it does contribute to a real vibe of the worm turning on Marty Supreme, like we were talking. And yet, I kind of wonder if Chalamet's just going to win anyway. and everyone will be mad about Chalamet winning an Oscar, which is not what I would have seen happening 3 months ago.
I'm so glad we saved this one for the end before we get to the best. I don't think we'll ever... I guess never say never, but I don't remember a best actor race as strong as this, as compelling as this. And it's like, I can't believe like we're going to find going into the Oscars, you're still not exactly sure who's going to win. And I think you could credibly make an argument for 4 of the 5 people here. Yeah. And even Ethan Hawke, if he won, which would be a complete shock, you'd at least be like, well, he had all these critics support and like, laid. Sure. Yeah. Right. It is an incredibly competitive category. So I don't know what to do here, really.
You don't have a gut feeling at all?
Well, no matter what happens, like historical precedent would break because you have Michael B. Jordan would be the only Best Actor winner with just SAG. He didn't win at the Golden Globes or anything else. Wagner Moura didn't even get nominated at SAG and BAFTA. He won at the Golden Globes. Leo hasn't won anything. He's been nominated everywhere and not won. And then Timmy lost BAFTA and SAG, which we said was the last time that happened was Sean Penn for Mystic River. But even that isn't like telling the whole story because when Sean Penn was nominated at BAFTA, which he lost that year to Bill Murray for Lost in Translation, he was a double nominee because he had Mystic River and 21 Grams.
Right.
So he kind of split his own vote, you could argue.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's how Bill Murray won. So like these are just unprecedented times for this category.
Love living in unprecedented times.
But so I came up with like a million different reasons. Like when we talked after SAG, I was like, oh, I think Wagner Moura has a real shot. And I still think that could be true, but I'm less likely to think that. The questions I have here, the biggest question I have, I guess, is like who was finished second at BAFTA when Robert R. Mayo won for I Swear? Was it Timmy? Was it Leonardo DiCaprio somehow because like One Battle played so well? Was it Sinners, or Michael B. Jordan because Sinners overperformed a little bit at BAFTA, right? It won me. Anyway, long story too long. I'm gonna end up picking Michael B. Jordan just because it seems like the path of least resistance. Like I think this is gonna be a very close, incredibly close race. I think if they release the vote totals, you'd have like a 3-way split again between Leo, who I think is underrated and strong. Yeah. Because One Battle is so strong. Michael B. Jordan and Timothée Chalamet.
What about Wagner?
You were
hyped on him a week ago.
I know. I think he could really do it too. So then 4 people. But I do think in the end it'll be Michael B. Jordan because I think to your point, like having him win SAG in the middle of voting, that doesn't always work. Like we saw like Lily Gladstone didn't win over like, Emma Stone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think that speech was really great. And like, the other thing is, I mean this not negatively. If you look back at like Best Actor, there is a slightly like, I'm going to say gimmick, but I don't mean it negatively. But like the idea that
like transformation, you pulled off a thing.
And if you look at the last few winners, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, right, doing the accent, the Hungarian accent, whatever. Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer is aged different times and like doing a whole biopic. Brendan Fraser for The Whale. Will Smith for King Richard. Anthony Hopkins for The Father. Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Rami Malek. You go back; these
Gary
are all
Oldman, yeah,
right. Like the last one that was just a straight quote unquote performance, and again, not using this negatively, was like Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, where it's just is like he's just a guy, right? Like there's nothing else. And I think Michael B. Jordan playing twins is like a leg up a little bit because it's like it is really kind of cool, and that like maybe sets him ahead of like Timothée Chalamet and Leo, both kind of doing maybe what people expect of them. Like one thing, like your point, like the worm has turned on Marty Supreme, but I think there is a sense that like Marty Supreme is Timothée Chalamet. Like there's not a lot of daylight there. And I wonder if playing yourself is a negative here for Timothée Chalamet, even if he's not, the perception of that being enough of a negative to have Michael B. Jordan win.
That he leaned into it enough that it's going to stick with him. Yeah, I think you've actually convinced me. Like, I think it is so possible for Chalamet to win still. Like, and the idea of the internet being against it is so funny to me, but that's probably a little bit too Twitter-brained of a thought. And I promise I did not go that deep on all the like opera people being mad at him this weekend. But I think everyone should prepare for that possibility. Also, Michael B. Jordan winning an Oscar at the end of this, and we were worried he wasn't even going to get nominated when he was so like rudely ignored for Black Panther. Like he has had such a tough time getting the credit he deserves awards-wise for what he's been able to do. For then him to get an Oscar on his first nomination and for this movie would be an incredible story and incredibly well-deserved.
So Michael B. Jordan wasn't even nominated for Black Panther, which I honestly think he should have won because I think it's like one of the great supporting performances, like up there with Heath Ledger in Dark Knight. That year, Mahershala Ali won his second Oscar for Green Book.
Oh, that's
love Mahershala Ali.
I was just looking up who won instead. That's like the psychotic. That never
like that's
happen.
crazy, right? Like that's crazy. So I'm like, and then now we're gonna go through like, okay, so like, if Michael B. Jordan had won his Oscar, then Timmy would have maybe won for Marty Supreme, or if Timmy had won over Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour,
that was never going to happen.
No, but I'm like, you know what I mean? Like we're gonna have. I think
Timmy
this
should
is
have won
going to
last
be
year. That's
if he
the
won
fixing you
last
do.
year. Like
Yeah.
this is going to set us up on like a future Oscar snubs draft. I think because I do think Timmy, whenever he eventually wins an Oscar. I think he will not be winning for a movie as strong as Marty Supreme. And if he does, God bless him. But I just think his performance here is so good that it's going to be like, oh, I can't believe he didn't. It's going to be like Al Pacino winning for Scent of a Woman instead of like The Godfather.
It is reasonable to assume that Sinners and Marty Supreme will be both of their signature movies, or at least among them.
I think so.
Like, I think for Leo, you can't like whatever his signature movie is, like there's a couple of different options. And same for Ethan Hawke, actually. Like it's not, I don't think it's either of these movies for them, but for like Michael B. Jordan and Chalamet as like stars around the same generation, movies that prove what they can do that are built around them, like it will be hard for them to top either of these. So it would be the right movie for either of them to win for.
Mm-hmm. And then just to Wagner Moura, I again, like we were saying about Delroy, we have no idea how they're going to field because he hasn't been against any of these people. And I think people are like, you know, like we could have said the same thing about Fernanda Torres and Penelope Cruz, maybe against Jessica Chastain for Parallel Mothers that year, whatever year that was.
A lot of us really convinced ourselves she was going to win at the last minute there.
I guess the only thing I would say about, I feel like Wagner Moore is stronger than those two just because I think he's not more famous than Penelope Cruz, but he's been everywhere. Like he has been with Delroy Lindo, I think, in terms of like campaigning, right? Like I don't think Wagner Moore has missed an opportunity to campaign.
Absolutely not. He and Kate Hudson, the most tireless people out there.
And so we'll see if that, I don't think that'll end up pushing him over the top, but it does complicate the race. Anyway, Michael B. Jordan, there you go.
I think Wagner Moura has better odds in something that feels like less of a Clash of the Titans in this race. Okay, you've convinced me on Michael B. Jordan. We're both in agreement. So we really wound up agreeing on everything except Best Supporting Actor, which is maybe me being stubborn. So, but how what's your confidence level on your acting predictions aside from
very
Jesse
low, very low? Because I'm basically after this crazy year where it's been like nobody's been like all different nominees, a lot of different configurations. My 4 picks here then are the 4 SAG winners, which isn't in a normal, like when it's a sweeper year, that makes sense. But this year I'm like, is it really going to be Amy Manning, Michael B. Jordan, Jesse Buckley, and Sean Penn? That doesn't seem right to me.
That doesn't seem right. You're right.
I think that's wrong. I think that like there's a chance Michael B. Jordan doesn't win. There's a chance Amy Madigan doesn't win. Certainly Sean Penn. So who knows? The only one I'm sure of is Jesse Buckley. Yeah. So I know I'll get 1 out of 4.
Yeah, this is not going to be my year. You're going to win. Anyone who wins an Oscar pool is they just make the right gamble because it's all gambles in all of these categories. Okay, we're on to director and picture. Maybe we should just talk about them together because I don't have a split. I'm just saying one battle for both. Where are you? I'm
also saying one battle for both in the end. I can't make the math work to get Sinners to win. And I think...
And you're talking preferential ballot? Director, we should say we feel incredibly confident about PTA winning director.
I do think so. Yeah. And I think again, you can't put a lot of stock in the anonymous Oscar ballots because there's 10 of 10,000. And also, who knows how many are double dipping? You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. Like, are the anonymous people talking to Gold Derby the same that talk to THR and the same that talk to Next Best Picture? Who knows? Maybe, right? How many people know voters and who are the voters? Anyway, that said, like, even... what I've been noticing is like no matter what you're picking for best, like people are just like really behind Paul Thomas Anderson. It just feels like that if it was a win, it would be a split, and Ryan Coogler would not win Best Director, and PTA would win. And again, like I think you can make a case for both of them, but like PTA winning Best Director feels right to me. So
yeah. Yeah. And so with the preferential ballot, when you get into Sinners, like you're just figuring that it has a bunch of first and second place votes probably, but not as many as One Battle After Another.
I think so. I think you could argue I don't think either of these movies are polarizing. You know what I mean? Like when we look at like Power of the Dog, it was like Power of the Dog is going to be a number 1 or number 2, and then it could be 10 because people hated it, right? There were certain people who just did not like the movie. And Coda was much more likable.
Yeah.
But I think both of these movies are incredibly likable.
Yeah.
And I think that I just still think like the enthusiasm around Sinners is so strong, but I think it's slightly more polarizing than One Battle, which I think has got like mostly broad support.
So it's a genre thing with Sinners, presumably.
That said, I mean, like if it's going to be an upset winner, which it would be, for Best Picture, it's almost unknowable until it, like Moonlight versus La La Land, you would have never, nobody really predicted that, right? It was like kind of, even during the show, La La Land won like 6 awards. It won Best Director, it won Best Actress. It had won everything. And you were just like, oh, okay, like it's going to win. And then when it won, it wasn't a shock. It was a shock when it didn't win. And then like they had to like, you know what I mean? Like it was just a crazy thing that it did not win. Shakespeare in Love versus Saving Private Ryan, similarly, like even Shakespeare in Love probably had like a little better edge, or like Crash even, right? You know what I mean? Where it's like you could see the kind of the worm turning. Parasite, I think, was like another one where it felt like by the end of the night, the momentum had just swung that you would have been shocked if it didn't win. And the same thing with Sinners. Like we could watch the show and just be like, oh, wow, it really is going to win. And it does win. I just don't think we're going to know that until it does, which I know is such a stupid thing, but it's hard to predict.
I guess if Sinners
won
editing or won like cinematography or some of the stuff we talked about, then that would be an interesting evidence for it. But yeah, I mean, we kind of keep coming back to like after the fact, all of these outcomes will seem like they make perfect sense. Like we can both see the narratives that take you to basically any winner. Like, I mean, I guess like if Emma Stone won for Begonia, that would be like the shock of the century. But like most of these things we can kind of game out in advance. But from here, we can follow all those threads and take ourselves to a lot of outcomes that may or may not actually happen.
If One Battle, like if Sinners wins like 3 like, you know what I mean? If Sinners wins 3 acting awards, I'll be like, it's absolutely winning. Like it would just win. Like it would have to win Best Picture. You know what I mean? I think in that regard, I don't think it could win 3 acting awards and not. But who knows? The one thing I keep coming back to is like throughout the race, and we've talked about this a lot, and this will be, I guess, the last time we talk about it until.
Well, we're gonna do a live after party call-in on Friday, so we'll have a little bit of a. If you're an after party subscriber, you can talk this over with us on Friday.
I guess I would say, like in the end, like One Battle is not. It's not Power of the Dog. It's not like just a colder technical achievement. People are really passionate about One Battle. Also, it is very entertaining. Also,
it's not 1917.
It's not 1917. It's not these alternate movies. It's not All Quiet on the Western Front versus Everything Everywhere or whatever. It's also really cool.
Yeah,
and it's also really fun, and maybe not as fun in certain ways as Sinners, and maybe not as genre-y as Sinners, and maybe not even as entertaining in some ways as Sinners. But it's still really fun, and that kind of keeps it ahead to me. You know what I mean? It's not like a 1 versus 1. It is, they're both really good.
Yeah. As fun as the Sinners Search is, and as great as it is to see these two movies kind of duking it out, like I think One Battle is the right winner. I think that will feel like the right one in 10 years. And with like Sinners is kind of like right there alongside it. It's like, it's a better outcome than like what happened to Barbie, which I kind of think got like overshadowed kind of in the end by Poor Things and didn't get to sit alongside Oppenheimer as kind of a 1-2 thing at those year's Oscars, even though those were the movies of that year. So Oppenheimer made sense as the Best Picture winner, and I think One Battle does too. And I think people won't be too mad about it. Right?
I don't think people will be mad about it either.
Also, who cares? Be mad on the internet. Go for it.
You could be mad. I think people, like, I just think if it was any other movie, they would be really mad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is honestly like
at the last minute,
or Marty Supreme. Forget it. They'd burn the internet down. They would go like just burn Twitter down or X or whatever.
Probably better that way.
This is the craziest thing, though. What if it is a tie? I mean, like, could it be a tie?
Picture,
could Best Picture and then a tie?
Don't think it can with the preferential ballot, right?
I don't think we're gonna get that. I think it's just gonna be One Battle. But at the same time, if Sinners, like I keep saying, if Sinners won, it would be awesome. And I think the vibes are real. I do think the vibes are real and the enthusiasm is real.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think it's like a mirage that we're just
giving
inventing.
Michael B. Jordan in a huge way for that. If we're both predicting him for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sinners vibes have to go somewhere, and to Michael B. Jordan rather than Best Picture and Director. makes sense. You feeling nervous about Sunday, about trying to be right about any of this?
I don't care about necessarily being right about any of it. I guess I'm more like, I am super nervous because I'm just like, man, I don't really know. It's rare, not to sound like a know-it-all, but it's rare to go into these and be like super unsure in so many categories. Usually there's like one or two where we're just like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. But this one really does, like 3 of the 4 acting categories, I think are an open debate. And even Best Picture, well, I think it'll be one battle and you do as well. Like, I do think there is still like, at the end of the night, we're going to be like, oh, what are they going to say? Who's going to, my I See Oppenheimer? Who's this year's my I See Oppenheimer? What are they going to see? I don't know.
Of all the Oscar presenters, do you think anyone's presenting Best Picture? We could talk about this on Friday as well.
I don't think, nobody reads to me like they would be.
No.
So I guess we'll see if they add some people.
Yeah, God, there's going to be so many in memoriam tributes. This show's going to go on forever, but as you know, you and I support that.
I can't wait.
So we'll wrap this up. As we are saying, we're doing a live after party call-in show noon on Friday. If you're an after party subscriber, we'll send you a link to join us. You can call in. Great time to join us there. And then on Sunday night, you and I are going to watch the Oscars together live, basically right here. I'll be in LA. I'll be in a hotel room, but anyone can join us there. You don't have to be an after party subscriber. It'll be on YouTube, on Substack. We'll make sure the links are available for that as well. We'll tweet it, everything else. So come watch the Oscars with us. I think it's gonna be really fun. And I think you're gonna watch us sweat in real time. Like, my heart always starts racing before some of these envelopes get opened as if I'm nominated. It's crazy.
I will say this, one of the greatest changes that the Oscars have made, even though it makes it a little challenging for bedtime and we have to have a babysitter, is moving it to 7 o'clock Eastern.
I know.
I'm so thrilled that they did that. Ending the show at a reasonable hour. It's just great. So
watching it in LA, it's amazing. It's over like 8. It's crazy. I have a whole night ahead of you. Okay, so we'll be back on Sunday. And then after this break, I'll be back talking to Bill Kramer and Lynette Howell Taylor. Now let's hear my conversation with Bill Kramer and Lynette Howell Taylor. Bill has been the CEO of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences since 2022, and Lynette was elected the Academy's president last year. And the role of the CEO and the president of the Academy can feel kind of interchangeable sometimes. And I think especially now as they are both preparing for the Oscars. I talked to them last week just after the Actor Awards and really wanted to know what their text threads are like, how often they're calling each other, when they're running across town. Of course, I wanted to ask them about what's coming up during the Oscars, but they are probably understandably tight-lipped about that. So I tried to talk to them more about just the logistics of their jobs, how they keep the Academy running with all of these different branches and members and some really high-profile people volunteering their time to make all of this work. And I also like to think of them both as kind of kindred spirit Oscar nerds. So I wanted to hear from them about some of their favorite Oscar memories and maybe some of the real touchstones of the awards that they both look to while trying to figure out how to make this show work. I really love talking to them. Obviously, I could talk to them for 100 more years, but now you can hear a small amount of what I would want to ask them about. You can hear my conversation with Bill Kramer and Lynette Howell Taylor. Well, Bill and Lynette, it is such a busy time for you guys right now. We're talking on March 2nd. The Oscars are less than 2 weeks away, not to stress you out or anything like that. And I know that you guys have a lot of jobs right now, but different jobs. And I'm curious if you could tell me just to start, like right now, what are you guys focused on? How are you working together? How often are you on the phone with each other? What's the division of labor at this point with the Oscars right on the horizon?
That's a great question, Katey.
We've had a busy weekend. Lynette, if you want to start that, I can show her our text chains.
Oh, there we go.
Bill and I never stop talking. I mean, Bill actually woke up this morning at whatever ridiculous hour he woke up, like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and it was like just a text. It was like just a text chain from me, and then we immediately got into it. No, I mean, Bill and I are talking all the time. We talk 100 times a day. We have a great working relationship. I think it's wonderful. It's been able to build over several years. When Bill started in his role as CEO, I took over as the chair of the awards committee, and Janet Yang was the president. And it was the first, all three of us were in our first years in our roles, and so the three of us worked on that Oscars together, and then the last 3 Oscars. And so this is mine and Bill's 4th show together, and it's my first in this role with him. But we've had a really great rapport for many years at this point, and so it's very natural. And in general, even without the show, Bill and I talk like 100 times a day, because there's always so much that the Academy is working on year round. And the division of labor is organic and it's natural. I think we can both be wherever one of us needs to be, and we're really lucky that we can do that. So yeah, I don't know, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, what are you texting at 4 a.m.? It's so early.
I was responding to text that came in sometime in the middle of the night. No, I mean, I second everything Lynette just said. And, I love working with Lynette, and we've had a great couple of years together. And Lynette, being our president, has been so additive to many of the programs and initiatives that we have at the Academy, but especially the Oscars, because Lynette has produced the show and was our awards committee chair. So that's, built-in expertise that we need. And then Raj and Katey are such seasoned producers, and we've worked with them for the last couple of years. So it's really all of us on emails and calls and Zooms and texts, and we're making a lot of decisions and fine-tuning some of the remaining components of the show, but it's looking incredible. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a good year.
I mean, knowing we're talking the day after the Actor Awards aired, and obviously you're making your own show, but as part of that frantic texting, watching this other award show and saying, oh, they did this that we want to do. Oh, we might want to change this. Like, is there a sense of kind of watching all these other shows and pivoting a little?
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I would say that
no, so I'll let you lead.
I would say that we make the show we're gonna make, and what we're responding to is the movies that are nominated, and we build our show starting the day after last year's Oscars. That's when we start building it, but then the show really kicks into gear the day of nominations. And it's at that moment that we really look at the specificity of what our show is, and we stick to that. I think it's all, we watch all the other award shows, but I think we always have a pretty clear idea of what it is that we are doing, and the way that we celebrate is unique to us. And so we go down our own path with the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And we've been, as Lynette said, we've been planning this year's show since a week after last year's show. So we've been thinking about theme, design, all of the things that we can control prior to nominations, including hiring Conan very early on.
Yeah.
So we've been working with his team and with Conan, and obviously Raj and Katey have been leading a lot of that with us. So we're pretty far along at this point. And of course, we're always tracking who's winning at other shows and who's being nominated. That's interesting for us. It's our world, it's our ecosystem, but it doesn't change the production of our show.
Yeah. Yeah, Lynette, as the experienced producer of the show, what difference does it make to have something like Conan hired so early? It was such a relief for those of us who love the show, thought Conan did so great last year. We were like, please let them lock him down. And he locked him down so quickly. Like, what a relief for me. I assume for you too. What can you do when you've got that in place like that?
It's really wonderful. It just gives you more time to let ideas bake. And he and his team are so creative, and they're so passionate about the show itself, about the movies, about the artists. And so when you have a collaborator like that who's coming with that kind of energy and joy and passion and then brilliant creativity, it makes our lives so much easier. And the show really leans heavily on the host to carry you through, and it really dictates and determines the energy of the night. And we're so lucky to have him, and we're so lucky that he said yes for the second year in a row. And it's a gift getting to work alongside him and his team.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How'd you guys talk him into agreeing so fast? Did you just drop money on his doorstep? Did it take a lot of convincing?
Conan had a great experience last year. The reviews were uniformly positive. Our ratings went up. I think he had a great time, and he was eager to come back. He's a pro, and what we love about Conan is tonally, He never hits below the belt. Everybody in that room loves him. He has such respect for the film community and from the film community. You're immediately in safe hands when he launches into his opening monologue. And it really sets the tone for the night.
Yeah, Lynette, I think I'd seen you say in another interview that we're not in a period where it's hard to convince people to take this job, because I think a lot of people know it's a really hard job. Like, it's got a lot of pitfalls to it if the reviews aren't good. And obviously Conan is someone who's uniquely suited to it. But why do you think it is that people are willing to take on this job in the first place? Do you think that the way you guys have been making the show is kind of helping setting the host up to succeed more, or has something shifted there?
I would hope that we are setting the host up to succeed. I also credit the movies and the globalization of the organization in the last many years has also given us like such a diverse and international slate of films that we recognize every year, which I also think makes for a really dynamic show. And I would hope that the host feels like, that Conan feels like there's a safety in the partnership, and that we really lean into celebrating and elevating these incredible movies, and that's what the Academy Awards is all about. It's giving a platform that isn't just about the one night, that's about a platform for these films to continue to find audiences, and that the spotlight that the Oscars puts on those movies, it just expands the audiences for the movies. And so I think it feels like there's a lot of joy and celebration around the Oscars, and we're just really lucky that Conan is like so thoroughly aligned with that, and it feels like just a great partnership.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys are going to not reveal any secrets about the show, but we are going to have casting for the first time. And just confirming, it is on the air, right? This is yes. All the awards are going on the air.
All the awards are on the air, including casting.
We're so happy to hear it. How is it introducing a new award on the air? I mean, the process of introducing casting in the Academy voting process, I'm super interested in also. But for the audiences at home who haven't gone through what those of us who cover this have been through of learning about casting, do you feel like you need to introduce it a little bit since it's the first go round?
I think that'll be part of the show.
Oh, yeah, it's exactly. I mean, like we do with every category, there's an intro. You learn about the nominees. I will say that we're doing something a little special for casting this year. You'll see on the show. No secrets given away today. and there's been a lot of prep work. I mean, Katey, you've seen a lot of press in the lead up to the show about casting. And audiences are really hungry to learn more about casting. We're finding out. It's sort of a film fan's fantasy football, right? How would I cast this film? People love to learn about the casting process. So it's been fairly easy to, I'd say, educate and get people interested and get them to understand the award. And that will continue into the show.
Yeah. How has it been watching casting directors be just part of the season overall? Like I watched Francine Maisler up on stage at the Actor Awards last night. Like they seem kind of overwhelmed, but also thrilled to be there. What have you guys noticed in seeing casting directors get to be part of it?
I think that they're really excited about their community having this moment, finally, this very well-earned moment where they're recognized alongside everyone else that contributes to making movies in the way that they do. I started as a casting assistant. That was my first job out of university. And so for me, this is like especially and very personally exciting. And it's just, casting directors as a producer, I have so many invaluable relationships where I can say, like, without a doubt that the movies that I have worked on just simply would not have been the same without the individual skill and talent and taste of so many of the casting directors that I've worked with as a producer. They're just an integral part of the creative team on the way that movies are brought into the world. And so, and I think lots of people, like people really know that. And then for those that don't, whether they have come into the process, whether they're filmmakers themselves and they've come into the process later on, so they don't interact with a casting director, especially those that work in post. The education of like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that this was how in depth you went into this process, I think it's been really exciting to educate and unveil that to everybody. And I think what we're going to do with the show is just dial it up a little.
Yeah. So you guys were both at the nominees luncheon also. I know we're not supposed to play favorites, but it did feel like the casting directors got this extra round of applause for everyone who won. Did you notice? Did you see what I'm talking about? Like they're getting the welcome wagon coming in.
Did
from
you
everyone?
have your applause meter as people's names were called?
No, definitely not that technical, but I maybe it was just me clapping louder for the casting directors. But it did feel like a real an excitement to welcome into the whole process, like you were saying.
It's been a long time coming for them. And I think the entire film community is really excited for them. And that was palpable that day.
Yeah. So how is the one of the other new big things this season is the honor system for saying that everyone has watched all the nominees. How is that going? We're in the middle of voting as we're speaking. Are you getting complaints? Are people figuring it out? Is it a relatively straightforward process like you hoped?
Yeah, it's been smooth. We have done a lot of messaging to members. We will continue to message to members until the last day of voting, but so far so good. And it's a fairly seamless process. Katey, I don't know if you're familiar with our Academy screening room and how that's set up, but it's very easy to mark watched on each film in each category. We make it seamless. And I think members are really appreciating the fact that we're asking them, and most do already, but to only vote if you've watched all of the films in a category, right? It's about equity, it's about fairness, it's about giving all films and performances their due. And our members are eager to do that. And I believe most of them do that anyway. So this doesn't seem like a radical change to most of our members. Same
for you, Lynette, I assume?
Absolutely the same for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen you say this in other interviews, Bill, that it's so many things start as conversations. You know, the membership branch might talk about a rule change or something like that. And that doesn't mean it's ever necessarily going to happen. And I think the casting award is a great example of that. That's conversations that happen over and over again. So are those happening in meetings? Is this email threads? Like, how are you making sure that that communication is happening? And Lynette, I'm sure it's part of your job as well, but just knowing that the Academy, it kind of has to be this living and breathing thing and making sure that those conversations happen. How do you guys do that?
Yeah, I mean, we have, I'll start with our Board of Governors. We have an incredible board. Lynette is our president. And within our Board of Governors, we have committees that are tasked with thinking about certain components of the work that we do, whether it's membership or awards administration or governance, making bylaws changes. You saw a few of those recently, Katey. So it starts in committee. Sometimes it's in response to members requesting something. Sometimes it's in response to us thinking about how we want to do an initiative differently, how we want to evolve the organization. But it really starts there. And then we either speak with members, take it to the board, go back and forth. It's rarely as simple as it starts in committee one day, goes to the board, and we vote on it. Yeah. We have a lot of conversations. And a few years ago, we initiated board brainstorming sessions, which really allowed our Board of Governors several times a year to meet and talk through some of the meatier items we're thinking about, including new branches, new awards, governance issues. And there's no voting in that session. So we can really talk it through. And we always kind of get to a place where we think, oh, this is the direction that we should move in. And then it's our team's job to administer that and to take it through the process. So it's very iterative. There are lots of conversations, and the more members we can bring close to this work, the better.
I will also say that our Board of Governors, unlike other boards, is entirely elected by the membership. And so they take those roles very seriously. And there's a term limit to how long they can serve on the board. And so when they come ready to work. Mm-hmm. And we've really seen that. So it allows us to be very action-oriented as an organization, which maybe wasn't always the case, but is certainly the case now.
Well, one of the things I just find so beautiful about the Academy is that it's all these people who have other jobs and are saying, oh, I'm also going to take this on like you are, Lynette, and say, like, I'm going to try to run this other huge thing. And I don't know if everyone who does it grew up loving the Oscars or something like that. But is it the love of the game that gets all these very powerful, important people to take on all this extra work and all these extra headaches for the sake of the Oscars?
Yeah, I think that everybody on that board cares so much about the film community as a whole. And that's what makes somebody run for a board seat, is that they want to contribute to the health of the industry that we all work in and do it from a position of where the Academy sits and what's the Academy's role in that. And there's so much enthusiasm and dedication and commitment because everybody cares so much. They really care. And I've been so endlessly impressed with the different points of view, the fact that we can have really robust conversations where not everybody agrees. There's an incredible level of respect. And it's for me, it's a really inspiring board to be a part of. And I don't think I would have run for this role if the members of the board weren't as committed and as wonderful as they are. I'm only able to do this because of the incredible support and collaboration with the entire Board of Governors and of Bill and the phenomenal staff that we have working for the Academy. Everybody really feels like it's a pleasure to serve and wants to serve and be in service of the 11,000 global members that we have.
Yeah. Here's a rules and logistics questions I can't resist asking you guys about. Has there ever been a discussion, or will there be, of having the international feature winning director also win the prize, not just the country itself? Because I want Kleber Mendonça specifically to have an Oscar this year, but I feel like it's happened before. Has that ever come up? Is that ever going to happen?
It's one of many things we discuss and will continue to discuss as part of our awards rules. But this is not the first time this has been mentioned to us. And as Lynette mentioned, we're global. We're becoming more global. So I think you will see in the future a lot of evolving of the international feature film category and how we approach the globalization of our filmmaking community as it relates to the Oscars. This is a future direction for us.
Yeah, because it felt like when the international feature category was changed, the name changed, that it felt like it's a no-brainer by the time that happened. That was one of those changes that didn't take decades like casting did. So it's interesting when you guys can pull off those changes relatively quickly and everyone seems to agree on it. And am I reading it correctly that was one of those where that international change happened fairly easily?
Exactly. I think it was not controversial, and it was very much aligned with where the Academy is going then and now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of the future, you guys can finally know where the Oscars are headed in 2029. It's been a bunch of years of not, talking about the contract ending. Is there a relief in kind of, obviously doing right by ABC and this partnership is top of mind, but is there kind of a relief in knowing where the future is headed? And are there plans already in the works for how things might look different in a couple of years?
Yeah,
I would. You want me to start that one or go for it?
I would say it's exciting, and but I will say also it's wonderful to know, okay, this is where our home is going to be in a few more years. I think that's essential for any long-term planning for any organization, and also it's a little bit like making a movie. It's like you don't save all your good ideas for the sequel, because the first one has to work too. And I think that's how we approach every Oscar season. Right. Every year is about using all the good ideas, all the best ideas. And then next year, you just have to come up with better ones. And I think that's how we approach the show every year. It's about celebrating the movies, celebrating this moment. We're so lucky that ABC has been our partner and is our partner. They're so wonderfully collaborative. We have a really great relationship with them. And we're finding ways to reach new audiences, and we have been doing that, and audiences engage with the show in all different kinds of ways now that are not just the traditional ways. And so I think that overall as an organization, we're in a really strong place. And at the heart of it, it's about connecting with audiences and with film fans around the world. And now we are set up to know, okay, what does that look like for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? It's
100
great.
years. Yeah.
100 years.
100 years. 100 years.
As always, I agree with everything Lynette just said. And, Katey, I don't know if I would use the word relief, but over the last year plus, when we were having conversations with potential new partners, and I should start by saying our relationship with Disney is so strong. They're such great partners. We have this show and 2 others with them. And that relationship remains stronger than ever, frankly. And they're very happy with the direction of the show over the last couple of years. But the conversations that we had with potential partners was very heartening. And they were different depending on who we were speaking with. And it got us thinking a lot about what's the right fit for us. And as a global organization that is growing globally, what is the best fit in terms of a partnership? And we had many options. And YouTube, we think, will allow us to reach a much larger global audience in a variety of languages at one time. And that's something that we've longed to achieve. And because of technological advances, we're now able to lock that in. And similar to starting the planning of the show the day after this year's show for next year's show, we want to start planning our budgets for 29 and 30 and 31 and thinking about what the show looks like. And so the longer the lead time is for all of that, the more sustainable our operations will be, the more we can communicate with members, the more we can talk to members about what they'd like to see. It gives us a lot of robust planning time. And that's, I don't want that to be a luxury. That's just how it should be. That's how a healthy organization runs.
Yeah. Last question for you guys before I have to let you go. Knowing, like you said, that you come into this as fans of the Academy and the Oscars, you guys have to be neutral about this year's race. But what are some favorites from the past? Like, what is an Oscar moment from your life when you were really young or something that got you here that you kind of look at and say, oh, that is what the Oscars can be at their best?
I have to say when I was hired to produce the show in 2020, I went back and rewatched 10 years of Oscar shows, which, by the way, was
what a great job.
Fun. It was like, I was literally like,
what a dream.
I was like, oh my God, I'm getting paid to sit on my couch and watch like 10 Oscar shows.
Did it have the commercial breaks in it? Because I love watching old Oscars with old commercials sometimes. So just for true time warp.
No, it didn't no, it did. Not the ones I was because they were from the Academy gave them to me.
The real stuff.
Yeah, you got the actual, the zip drive.
I
got VHS tapes recorded on someone's television.
Exactly. With no player.
Oh, yeah.
I really loved the year that Hugh Jackman hosted. It was a really great year. It had like a wonderful musical like halftime show with Beyonce. You know, Hugh was such a great host that year. And it was really thoughtful in terms of the way that the producing team took you from one category to another. It was a really strong show. When I think about great Oscar shows, rather than just individual moments, I kind of put that entire show. Bill Condon produced that show. I put that entire show into that category of this is a great Oscar show full of joy and celebration. And that's what we lean into. It's really important for us that the night is about celebrating and elevating the filmmaking community, and that of course there's tons of humor, and there should absolutely be tons of humor, and it should all be under that banner of celebration.
Yeah. All right, Bill, what's your answer?
Since Parasite is looming above me, I'll do a fairly recent one. And I wasn't the CEO yet of the Academy. At the time, I was director and president of the Academy Museum, but Parasite winning Best Picture, I think, signaled a seismic shift in not just the Academy, but the film industry and how we are watching movies and making movies and thinking about the art form. It was so exciting. And I'm a super fan of director Bong and the film and Mickey Lee, who's actually on our museum board. So it was a wonderfully celebratory moment, but I also loved what it represented. And I think we're seeing that continuation today.
Yeah, I think every presenter should watch Jane Fonda and the moment, the pause that she takes when she opens that envelope. Like that is someone meeting the moment in every possible way. And not everyone gets to open the envelope announcing Parasite, but she totally nailed it.
A great dramatic moment, yes.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for taking this time in this very busy time. What an exciting period. And I'm excited to see what you have in store for us on the 15th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're excited to show everybody.
Yeah. That does it for today's episode. A few things coming up on the horizon. If you're a Prestige Junkie After Party paid subscriber, join me and Chris for a live call-in show with all of our final Oscar takes. It's coming up on Friday starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're an After Party subscriber, we will send you a link where you can join us. And then no matter who you are, bring your friends, bring your family. Watch the Oscars with me and Chris this coming Sunday night. Find us at The Anklers YouTube page at theankler.com. I will certainly be promoting that link all over the place. We're really excited. We've been doing some of these award show watch-alongs all season. This is the big one. We promise not to talk too much, except for in the commercial breaks too, because decorum, obviously. In the meantime, this podcast is edited by Brett Fox and produced by Brett Fox and me. Our theme music is by Dave Gonzalez. Thanks, as always, to Chris Rosen. Subscribe to the Prestige Junkie newsletter at theankler.com. Subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. We'll see you a lot this weekend. It's Oscar time. See you later.